So before you start reaching out to alums and whether you're going to get involved with a chapter or you want to reach out to alums individually for informational interviews, I want to make sure that you guys are kind of your online presence for networking. You're physically fit in that sense. So you want to make sure that you update your LinkedIn profile. And I have resources for you. This is something that just came off of LinkedIn's site. It's what they say makes a good profile. So it's a nice checklist, right? Everybody appreciates a good checklist of everything that you need to have on your profile to, according to LinkedIn, have a stellar profile. So you guys can grab those. We ask that you join our Berkeley Haas LinkedIn affinity group. The reason why we want you to join this Berkeley Haas LinkedIn affinity group is so when you start searching in LinkedIn for alums, LinkedIn is one big Venn diagram. You want to overlap and be connected with as many people as possible. And if you are in our official Berkeley Haas alumni group, when you search people, more Berkeley Haas alumni are going to come up in your search because you have a shared group. Okay? It is a closed group, so when you ask for to be accepted into the group, it will take a couple days because somebody in our office actually looks up your profile, makes sure that you are a current Haas student, that you are in our community, and then we accept your request. Okay? The other thing that we would really, really like you guys to do is to connect with all of your classmates. So Berkeley Haas, just kind of, and I gave a picture of this at the junior orientation, but it's kind of that bullseye effect, right? There's 500,000 Cal alumni, so 500,000 Cal alumni. There's 37,000 Haas alumni. There's roughly 2,000 Haas students on campus if you were to add in our student population here. And then there's 700 undergrads, and there's roughly 350 in your class. So while you have access to that, everyone in the network, all 500,000 Cal alumni and beyond, you really want to start with your classmates because your classmates are the center of your network. And yes, while you are competing against getting classes, grades, internships, job opportunities, once you enter the real world in a very short year or 2 years from now, your classmates are the center of your network. And so connect with them on LinkedIn now so you can congratulate them when they get a promotion. You can say, hey, congratulations on this new internship you got. Hope it's going well. Because you never know where your career is going to go, and you never know where your classmates' career is going to go, so you want to be able to connect with them. 10, 15 years from now, maybe they're your manager. Maybe you're interviewing them and they want to join your team. Okay? So connect with your classmates now. Do you guys have any questions on that? Awesome. Okay, so how do I get into the Berkeley Haas LinkedIn group? Sweet, you told me about it. Where do I go? So again, back on that alumni page, under connections, you will find a LinkedIn button. And so if you hit this join, that will automatically put in a request to join the official Berkeley Haas alumni group, okay? There's a couple ones out there. Ours has about 16,000 Haas alums in the group. So if you're looking at one, it's like Berkeley alumni or Berkeley Haas alumni, and there's like 3,000 people. That's not the one. You can join it, but that's not the one that's managed by us. And so it's about 16,000 people. There's also some affinity groups. So if you're interested and that's down here on the website. If you're interested in finance, startup, healthcare, consulting, there's all these different affinity groups that you can join on LinkedIn. And again, when you go to search alums, more alums in those industries will come up in your search because you have a shared group. Okay? So that is kind of the first way to get involved with the network is through our formal chapters. Sign up for the email list, go to any chapter event you like. And then join, get your LinkedIn profile nice and snazzy and beautiful, and then start joining the official Berkeley Haas alumni LinkedIn groups and affinity groups. And then that gets you ready to start building your network through informational interviews. So raise your hand if you've ever heard the term informational interview. All right, raise your hand. There's a couple people. Raise your hand if you ever heard coffee chats. Like, oh, I'm going to go on a coffee chat with so-and-so. All right, so I would say for the most part that those are pretty much the same thing, but I really like the term informational interview because it's an industry standard term and it's a little bit more professional than a coffee chat. So if you ask an alum, I would like to go on an informational interview with you, they know a couple things. If you say, I want to go on a coffee chat, that's a little, you're asking for the same thing basically, but it's like a step down. I would just say a little less formal in that sense, like a step down from that, from formality. So informational interviews is basically, according to Wikipedia, it's when a potential job seeker seeks advice on their career, the industry, or the corporate culture of a potential future workplace, while the employed professional learns about the job seeker. And so basically the job seeker is getting advice from the employed individual. So that's basically what an informational interview is. When you're asking somebody to go on an informational interview, you're asking them for advice. That's all you're asking, okay? Their time and their advice. But trust me, getting somebody's advice, that's a lot. And it can be really, really, really helpful in you deciding and honing in on what you want to do with your career or helping you make the decisions that you need to make about an internship or a job offer or whatever advice you're seeking from that individual. So this is also a skill. So why do informational interviews? It's a skill that you can use throughout life. So if you are looking for an internship next summer, you might go on informational interviews because you are really interested in consulting, but you keep hearing all your classmates talk about iBanking. And like it kind of sounds exciting, but like you don't really exactly know what iBanking is, or you think you have an idea, but you don't know, like if I were to have an internship or a career in iBanking, what does my Tuesday afternoons look like? What does my work-life balance look like? What are my career, the trajectory of my career? Where are some other industries I could go into? How long do I have to wait before I potentially have a management opportunity? These are all questions that you might have and you want to explore and you want to ask somebody and get their advice to learn more about that industry. Okay, so you would use an informational interview for that. Maybe in 6 years from now, you've been graduated from Haas, you've been out in the workforce for a couple years, and you're wondering, should I take that plunge, leave the job market for 2 years, and go back and get my MBA? Is it worth it? Is the cost benefit there? Is it worth giving up 2 years of employment and leaving the job market to go back to school, to go in debt? All these questions. You might go on informational interviews to ask folks who have done that and who haven't done that to learn the advantages and get their advice on how it impacted their career and their life and why they made the decisions they did. You're seeking their advice. So it's something that you can use now and it's something that you can use later in life. The nice thing about being a student and who you should interview is if you reach out to Haas alum, that's a great place to start because you have a shared emotional connection with that person. So while, yes, you are an undergrad student here at Haas, we are one network, right? You can totally reach out to a full-time MBA alum who graduated 10 years ago. If they have the pedigree and the career that you're interested in, and you've looked them up on LinkedIn and you're like, God, I want to talk to this person. There's something about them that intrigues me. There's something about their profile that, if I could just ask them this or that question, I really think they could help me with the decisions I need to make. Reach out to that person. Yes, they graduated from a different degree program, but you guys both walk these halls. You both have this shared emotional connection. So it's not a cold outreach or email or call. It's lukewarm because you have that shared emotional connection. So the biggest thing is the golden rule. So the reason why I like using the term informational interview is because you are telling the alum when you use that term in your outreach message, there are 2 rules that I will follow. I will not ask for a job or internship, and I will not give you my resume unless you ask for it. Okay? They know you're looking for a job or internship. They know you're looking for that because guess what? They were once a student. It goes back to that shared emotional experience. They were in your shoes maybe not that long ago, and they know, oh, yep, you're graduating in 6 months. Of course you're looking for a job. But that's not what you're asking them. You're not asking them to hire you. You're asking them for their advice, and their advice is free. And you're not going to give them your resume, and you're definitely not going to push that resume across the table and be like, do you mind looking this over and telling me if this is good? Should I change anything? That's not their job, okay? You have a whole Cal Career Center. David Woodward, Chris Gavin, and all the other career counselors are there to answer those questions. That's their job. They're professionals in that. Take your resume to them. Have them look it over, okay? Don't use the alum's time that way. The alum has other pieces of information and other things that they can give you that might be more valuable than looking over your resume, okay? If the alum asks, yes, I'd love to go on an informational interview, why don't you send me your resume? Of course you'll send it to them, but you're not going to attach it to your outreach message or your follow-up message. You will only give it to them if they specifically ask. Do you guys have any questions about the golden rule? It's kind of like this elephant in the room, and you just got to follow. It's like etiquette. You got to follow it. Cool. Okay, so everyone loves a good checklist, a nice step-by-step directions. So this is the process that you will need to go through to start your own informational interview, self-directed career internship search. So you need to start with research, and then you need to do outreach. It's a numbers game, you guys. So if you want to meet with 5 alums, how many do you think you should contact? 50. How many? 50? Hopefully if you contact 50, you definitely get 5 people to respond. But yeah, I mean, if you want to meet with 5 alum, I would contact 15. These folks are busy individuals, okay? They've got their own personal lives going on. They might be volunteering for a nonprofit board. They have their high-powered jobs that they have. This is in addition to all of that, okay? So while we would love every single alum to answer every single student phone call and email, and when you become an alum, you have the opportunity to do that, just know that if you reach out to 2 or 3 people and you don't hear back from anyone, don't be discouraged. Keep going, okay? Preparation. So you need to make sure that you are prepared. You are a Haas student. You need to walk into the situation and into this meeting that you have requested, prepared and ready to go, okay? You're going to prepare for this the same way that you might prepare for an actual job or internship interview. You have the actual meeting with the alum, and then you have the follow-up, okay? And you need to make sure that you invest time into each one of these steps to really be successful at the whole process. So you have 2 very, very powerful tools at your disposal to help you with this. So in terms of the first step, research. How many of you guys have a LinkedIn profile? Awesome. So you're halfway there. So you are going to spend some time and you're going to do your research on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is the go-to tool in the marketplace where individuals self-disclose current employment information, okay? There's no other tool out there. There's no other website out there where millions of people get on every day and update, this is where I'm working, update about what they're doing or what they're interested in or how to connect with them, okay? Also, LinkedIn has invested lots of money to design a very powerful research tool within their website that you guys can use, and I'll show you step by step how to use that search function. The other tool that you have available to you is @Cal. Now, @Cal is the Berkeley's alumni directory, okay? This is where you're going to contact alumni. So let me be clear. @Cal is only available to Cal alums. You guys are not Cal alumni yet, but Haas students are the only students that have access to @Cal as a student, because we understand how powerful this tool is, and we want to make sure that our students have access to it when they need it most. Now, when you're trying to do your internship in your career search, okay, and you want to do these informational interviews. So it's a benefit that you have as a Haas student, so I encourage you to use it, okay? For the juniors in the audience, there are a handful of juniors that still have not been added into @Cal. Campus is working on it, so if you try and log in with your CalNet ID and you can't, know that we're aware of it and they're manually adding in the last few juniors, okay? Do you have any questions about these 2 tools and how to use them, or the difference of them? We also like to describe them as like a Reese's peanut butter cup, peanut butter and chocolate. So like chocolate's delicious, peanut butter's delicious, but you put them together and that's like a pretty powerful flavor combination. LinkedIn, fabulous, powerful tool. @Cal, great, wonderful tool. You put these tools together and your access and your availability to do this type of research and this type of outreach is enhanced because you have access to both. Okay? So, we start with LinkedIn because that's where you do your research first. So on LinkedIn, you're going to go into the connections tab, and there's a drop-down option, and the last one, I think there's like 4 options. The last one says Find Alumni. You're going to click on Find Alumni, okay? So I graduated from University of San Francisco. That's where I got my master's degree. So on my profile, it has that school as my alma mater. So when I click Find Alumni, LinkedIn thinks, great, you want to find alumni from the school that you went to. You know what? I don't want to find alumni from USF. Or maybe you're a transfer student and you have your junior college on there. Or maybe you have, it just comes up as Berkeley, like Cal Berkeley, like not Haas. All you have to do is click on the Change University option over here, and there's a drop-down option. It doesn't even list for me, since I'm not an alum of Cal or Haas. It doesn't list those schools as an option for me, so I just type it in. I just type in Berkeley Haas, and I click on it, okay? So if you have any other school besides Haas on there, I encourage you that you change it to Berkeley Haas. So again, when you start searching alums, more Haas alums will come up, okay? Okay, so then once you change it, so now see how it says like Berkeley Haas, that's what it should look like if you are in the Haas like kind of portal. You might have University of California, Berkeley, and that would be more of the 500,000 Cal alums that you would be searching. But we want to focus on finding Haas alums. So we change the school, and then we go to Student and Alumni tab. So this is where the powerful tool that LinkedIn has built that you guys have access to at your fingertips. So there's some awesome drop-down options here. So where do they live, where do they work, and what do they do? You can pick, okay, it's always preferred to do informational interviews in person. So I want to pick that they live in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I am interested in consulting. So I'm going to pick, maybe I'm interested, just in one firm. So I might pick Deloitte, or I might pick, these are just the top employers that come up first. Maybe you want to reach out, Google is your dream company, and you want to try and create connections and build your network within Google. So you're really focused on reaching out to alums in Google. So you click Google. And then what do they do? Well, Google, I would love to be in HR at Google. And so then you can pick the different industries or fields what they do within those firms or those fields. When you hit search, it's all based on, you can pick the exact same parameters with your friend sitting next to you, and you're going to come up with a different search result because you have different connections than your friend. And so it's all, whoever you're connected with in your first connection will come up first, okay? So that's how you do the research in LinkedIn. Then once you have identified a couple alums that you want to reach out to, you are ready to move on to the next step, which is your outreach. And so your outreach most often is going to be an email. Sometimes people make phone calls. It's up to you. It's just your personal preference. So your outreach, your message is going to be simple and concise with a very clear ask. So I recommend students that your outreach message not be more than 5 to 6 sentences. Hi, I'm Alessandra Demmons. I'm a current Berkeley Haas student. I would love to go on an informational interview with you to get your advice about XYZ and how your Berkeley Haas degree has impacted your career in ABC. Are you available for a 30-minute in-person informational interview in the next week or 2? I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. Okay? I didn't say a lot about me, but that I'm a Berkeley Haas student. I didn't say I'm really interested in consulting. It's my passion. I'm part of this club, and I really la 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 la. Because they're probably going to look you up in LinkedIn. All that information's on LinkedIn. But you want to be short and concise. You want to make sure that you have a clear ask. I'm asking for their advice, and I'm asking for their time. I was very specific in that. I said the word advice. I would always have that word in my outreach message, and I said exactly what I wanted. I wanted 30 minutes of their time in person in the coming weeks. And I also like to use the term informational interview, so then that alum instantly knows, oh, they want an informational interview. Sweet, they're not going to ask me for a job. They're just asking for advice. And I know they're asking for advice because they asked me if they could ask for advice in the message. So really, really clear and concise. If it's super long and the last sentence of your email is like what you want, the alum might not even read to the bottom of that email. They're busy. And they might never get to what you're actually asking them for. So then you have your message ready, and you can always, always, always email me. Hey, Alessandra, I've identified 5 or 6 alums. I'm ready to start reaching out to them. Can you check out, like, here's my outreach message. Can you just give me some feedback? And I'll probably write back, looks great, too long. I would take out this sentence, I combine these 2 sentences, and then you're good to go, okay? Always feel free to, like, send me your outreach message before you start reaching out to alums, or maybe you've been reaching out to alums and a lot of people haven't been getting back to you at the rate you thought they would have. Hey, Alessandra, this is the outreach message I've been using. I've had some luck with it, not as much as I had hoped. Can you help me kind of maybe perfect the ask, or am I leaving something out that might be critical? I am happy to help you guys in that way, okay? So now that you have your message ready, how do you actually contact the alum? That's where @Cal comes in. So you sign in with your CalNet ID. And I just want to reiterate, this is a perk that you guys have. So if you have a friend in majoring in engineer or economics or engineering or English or anything, they don't have access to it. So it's powerful. Use it. Leverage it. Because they don't even get it until like 3 months after graduation, because that's when the university actually realizes that they're an alum and have changed their status from student to alum. And nobody wants to be looking for a job 3 months or starting this process 3 months after graduation. Okay, so once you're in at Cal, basically you'll take a name of an alum that you found in LinkedIn, and you just put it into the search field in at Cal. And there might be 20 John Smiths or whatever. You want to look for, because usually on LinkedIn it will have their degree. They graduated full-time MBA. They graduated undergrad 96. And so you can kind of look at some of the information that @Cal will have about that alum and try and find the specific alum that you are actually trying to get a hold of. So Kinman Tong is one of our fabulous undergrad alums. He graduated in 2003. And I picked him because he has probably the most stellar LinkedIn profile you will ever see. Okay? So this has all the bells and whistles. So 98% of the time, when you search an alum, it's not going to have all this. It's not going to have their picture. It's not going to have the badges that he's added. He's also come in and made his his @Cal profile public. He has his email public here as well. So he's an awesome alum and has come in and done this. Most people, it will say @Cal member, yes, logged in, like never. It might say never logged into @Cal. You don't care about any of that, okay? Because you're not doing your research here. All you care about is this. Do they have this contact button? And if they have this contact button, that means there's an email on their file. That means this alum has shared a preferred email address with Cal, with the University of California. And so we have an email on file for them, okay? Once you click contact, it will just open up like a normal email inbox with like and you won't actually even see the alum's email. It will say subject, and then there'll be a box that you can write your message in. You hit send. When the alum replies to you, whatever email you have tied to your CalNet ID, that email will land in your CalNet ID inbox. Does that make sense? It's not like you have to log back into @Cal to see if they've responded. So all you're looking for is that contact button, okay? Kinman here, since he's so fabulous, you could also cut and paste his email and send it from like your Gmail account or whatever if you're more comfortable with that. Totally up to you. But all you're really looking for is that contact. Just a quick couple words about @Cal. You can save your searches. So let's say, going back to that Google example, you wanted to, you have midterms coming up in 2 weeks, and you know that you can't do your outreach this week because then the alums will start getting back to you and they'll want to meet the week of midterms, and you have to manage your time as well. And so you don't want to reach out to them yet, but you've done your research and you've identified the 10 folks you're ready to once you've got the bandwidth. You can save those searches in @Cal and label it like Google HR personnel, and then they'll be pulled up. The other nice thing that you can do when you go into @Cal is, like Kinman, you can make your profile public, and it's basically an online stamp of approval or a business card saying, yes, Alessandra Demmons is a member of the Cal community. Yes, she is a current student at Berkeley Haas. Or yes, Kinman graduated from the Haas School of Business in 2003. So if an HR manager is Googling you and wants to know, I didn't request transcripts, but what does the internet tell me about this individual? Hopefully this will come up as one of the top few hits on Google because you've made your profile public and it's a stamp on the internet saying, yes, so-and-so is a member of our community or is an alum of our community. Okay, and there's some like awesome, beautiful photos of campus that you can pick. It's basically like an online digital business card. Any questions about this part of contacting the alum? All right, so now we are ready to do preparation. So you've reached out to your alums, and somebody got back to you and said, yes, Alessandra, I would love to meet with you for a 30-minute in-person chat. Why don't you meet me at my office at 3 o'clock, and then we'll go downstairs to the Starbucks that's in the lobby of my building. Sweet. So I know I'm going to meet them in their office. Let's say that this is in the banking industry, and then we're going to head to coffee. So I'm going to prepare for this meeting. So I'm going to Google the term informational interview questions, because you don't need to invent the wheel here, but you do need to come up with a tailored list of questions. And when you Google that term, informational interview questions, you're going to get thousands of hits. And you need to spend some time finding the top 50 questions that resonate with you. What are questions that are going to naturally come out of my mouth? What are that sound like me? What are questions that the answers that the alumni are going to give me is going to help me make decisions that I need to make for myself? You're not going to ask them what's your favorite flavor of ice cream because you don't care, because it's not going to help you decide if you should take this internship offer or that internship offer, if you should go into marketing or if you should go into consulting. So then what I like to do is keep a running list of like 50 questions or so, refer back to that master list of my questions that are tailored for me. Okay, I'm meeting this person, banking in the city, and I'm going to ask them these 10 questions because according to their profile and their work history, I want to know how they went from being an undergraduate alum at Haas, then 3 years in 4 years in the industry, and then they went back and got their MBA at Wharton or Stanford or Harvard, and how that pivoted their career, and then what doors that opened for them because they went back and got that second degree. But more than anything, I actually really want to know the culture of the company they're in, because I've heard mixed things. I've heard work-life balance isn't that good, and that's something that's important to me if I'm going to be there long term. So you're going to tailor your questions to what that individual is, okay? And I would say for 30 minutes, 10 questions max. You probably won't even get through 10 questions. You're going to have them typed out on a sheet with space in between so you can take notes when you're in the meeting. So logistical needs, time, location, in-person versus phone. So I already know a couple things. I'm meeting them at their office. This is a banking industry, something along those lines. So we're not meeting in their office. We're going to meet downstairs at a coffee shop, but I'm entering their office. So what should I wear? I'm going to dress pretty professional for that. Oh, I'm going to go to startup at somewhere in the East Bay, let's say. What am I going to wear to that? I'm probably going to dress a lot different than what I would do walking into some kind of banking office in the city. But wear a watch, so then if you have an in-person meeting, you can politely keep an eye on the time, and you want to be respectful of their time. You might have 3 or 4 or 5 more questions, and I have a couple more questions, but I just want to be respectful of your time, and we only have about 3-5 more minutes. And the alum will say one of 2 things. Oh, thank you so much. I actually have to run. I have a phone call or a meeting I need to go to. Or, you know what? Let's keep going. This has been enjoyable. I'd love to answer the rest of your questions. I've got 15-20 more minutes. And then you know that you have that much more time. Phone or in person. So one of the things that's challenging is you guys are students. You guys are really, 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 really busy. Most of you are involved with multiple clubs. You might have a double major. you're doing on-campus recruiting and all of that and info sessions, which is a beast in and of itself. So I understand that you guys are busy. Our alums are also busy. So scheduling and getting an actual in-person meeting can be really, really challenging. But there's sometimes when you're building your network, you always want to make that connection face-to-face, because even though the conversation might be exactly the same over the phone, the connection that you've built with that individual is not going to be as strong as if it was face-to-face. Sometimes, though, there's an alum that you just really, really, really want to meet, and you try to find a time, and like it's just not working out. You can always then move to a phone call, okay, and say, oh, like we've tried 3 or 4 times to set a meeting. It's not working. Why don't we move this to a 30-minute phone call instead? So that's one thing that you can also do. The other thing, too, is if you're going to a coffee shop, you invited them, I would, just as etiquette, I would always offer to, like, buy their coffee. I mean, what's $10 worth of 2 cups of coffee or $6? They know you're a student. They'll probably say, oh, no, I got it. But, again, you invited them. It's just kind of the polite thing to do. Sometimes students ask about that. Okay, so the actual meeting. So more than anything, you need to make sure that you are yourself. You need to bring your authentic self to the meeting, because that's gonna hopefully shine through more than anything. And like I mentioned, you're gonna have your questions typed out and ready, because sometimes it's kind of like a first date. I've been on informational interviews where, like, halfway through, I'm like, oh man, if this was a date, like, we would not be having a second date. Like, it's just not. I ask a question, you answer it, you look at me, and it's like, okay, let me ask the next question. And then there's other ones where you're like, you ask a question, they answer it, they say something, and like a conversation and a dialogue just starts, and before you know it, you're like 22 minutes in, and technically you've only asked one question, but really they've answered 80% of what you wanted to get out of them and learn from them, because the conversation and the dialogue is just going so great. So just in case it is like a call and response, you have your questions ready. It is an interview. Some alums might be like, all right, you're interviewing me. What's the next question? And I think it's totally appropriate to bring it out and take notes. You're there to get advice. They're there to help you. So taking notes, and when somebody is talking about themselves and the other person is really authentically, actively listening and it's helping them, that makes you feel good. In the same way that I'm sure a lot of professors like it when students take notes. I already kind of mentioned being respectful of their time. You want to be an active listener, so it's okay to ask probing questions or follow-up questions, I should say, to something. If they say something and you're authentically interested in it, like, wow, I didn't, can you tell me more about that? I actually hadn't even heard of a team like that or that type of opportunity. I'd love to learn more. And you want to make sure that you thank them for their time, but above all, you want to remember the golden rule. You're not asking for a job or internship, and you don't give them your resume unless they ask for it. And I would say, you're a prepared Haas student, bring your resume with you. 9 times out of 10, you will go home with that resume in your bag. But just in case that alum's like, oh, do you happen to have a copy of your resume? Well, of course I do. Here you go. Okay? But you're not going to bring it out unless they ask for it. Okay, so follow-up. It is not our alum's job, as much as our dean and everyone here would love that every single alum answers every single student phone call and email inquiry. It is above and beyond what they are expected to do in terms of their job, right? So they're taking time out of their day to meet with you, hopefully in person, to answer your questions and give you advice. Take time out of your day to reciprocate and thank them at the same level. Is a thank you email okay? Perfectly fine. Perfectly acceptable, okay? But I believe that a thank you card, in the same way that if you have a formal job interview or internship interview, you should write a personal handwritten thank you card to every single person that was on that interview panel. You should write a thank you card to that alum. And be specific. Thank you so much about your advice on the classes that and clubs that I should get involved with to enhance my skill set in this area, so I can keep doors open for myself as I explore this industry. Like, if they give you specific advice and it actually really helped you, tell them what they told you, how they helped you. I kind of forgot one really, really important thing. So back to the meeting, there's one question that you always want to ask at the end. Does anyone have any idea what that question is? This slide kind of gives it away. So you are building your network.
Is there someone else I should contact?
Yeah.
Do you have anyone who you recommend?
Exactly. Do you have anyone else to recommend that I should contact? Is there anyone else that you know that might help me make these decisions that I need to make, or that can provide me advice around blah, blah, blah? You're building your network, and so that should always make sure you leave time to ask that question. And I'd say most alums probably offer 1 to 3 names on average, and that's totally normal. Now what that alum is doing is they're opening up their network to you. So they might recommend 1 Haas alum and 2 non-Haas alums. That's totally fine, but that is a warm lead, and you need to follow up with every single person that they recommend, because you don't know their relationship with that individual. Okay, it could be a family member, it could be a current colleague, it could be a former boss, and they're probably going to see those people again because they're probably recommending somebody within their inner circle, and they're going to ask you, hey, did Sammy ever contact you? I don't know who you're talking about. Well, now Sammy, when you contact that alum to follow up or ask for something else, they're going to be like, but Sammy, you never contacted the people I recommended to you. Right? So the other thing too is when you do have a little bit of control over that. So if they recommend somebody and you look at their LinkedIn profile and you're like, super swamped right now, I appreciate that this alum recommended this individual, but there's nothing on their profile that I'm seeing that like gets me excited. But Alessandra said I have to reach out to them, so I'm going to reach out to them. Well, then that's when you ask for a 20-minute phone call. You don't have to ask the in-person right away. Immediately move it to a 20-minute phone call. And that's a lot easier and a lot quicker to do than trying to potentially head out to the city for a coffee chat. Okay, so the other thing in terms of follow-up is the crush example that I like to give. So you know when you have a crush on somebody and you can't stop thinking about them, and like the weirdest things that you see around the day, throughout your day, makes you think about that individual, and then slowly over time you think about them less and less. No one has ever experienced this. I see no bobbing heads. Do you guys? Yeah? And you think about them less and less, and then finally like 1 day goes by, 2 days go by, 3 days go by, and you haven't thought about that individual, and then all of a sudden out of the blue you get a text from them and they're like, hey, what you doing? You should hang out this weekend. And you're like, why? I was just ready to like get over you and stop thinking about you. You kind of want to be that with the alum. So you don't want to be the kid on the playground that's like constantly annoying the kid that you have the crush on, right? Like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You don't want to be that person to the alum. You want to be the person to the alum that maybe 6 weeks have gone by and they're starting to forget about you. And then all of a sudden you pop back up on their radar. But you pop back up on their radar in a very strategic way. Okay, you've already asked for something. You asked for their advice. You asked for their time. You're taking from the network. That's what you're supposed to do. But you're building your network, and that's all based on relationships. And relationships are a two-way street. And so now it is your turn to give back to that alum. So when you contact that alum and you follow up with this crush example, you want to provide something to them. Oh, but Alessandra, I'm just an undergrad student. What can I provide to this alum who graduated 10 years ago? A lot more than you think, okay? Hey, John, I came across this article in research for my class, and per our conversation about blah, 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 last September, I thought you might find it interesting. Hope you're doing well. Take care. Hey, John, I am thinking about going to this East Bay chapter event about, the vodka distillery tour. You know, we talked about our love for vodka and types of vodkas in our meeting. I thought you might find it interesting, okay? It could be a social thing. It could be going to a baseball game. It could be an academic thing or a business thing. Hey, I came across this article in the New York Times. Hey, congratulations. I just saw that your company sold. Or, hey, you connected on LinkedIn. Congratulations on the promotion. But either way, you're providing something back to the alum before you ask for something. Because then maybe a couple weeks after that, maybe an internship or job opened at that firm and you want to apply to it. And you want to contact them and say, do you mind if I put on my cover letter that we met back in September? And per our conversation about your firm, I got like my mindset on joining the company and, you know, have been looking for a way to join the firm since then. Right? That's another ask. So you just want to make sure you provide something in between. Okay, so the great thing about this is taking advantages and learning this process now. So the examples I gave kind of earlier in the hour is this is something you can use now for your internship or career search, but this is something that you can use throughout your life. Maybe you aren't happy in the industry you're in and you want to completely pivot. Do that then. The thing I also love about it is you're in the driver's seat. So how many of you guys have applied to a job in Callisto or an internship on Callisto? And then what do? Right? You hit send, your application's in, and then like you wait. Right? You're like, some hiring manager, please call me back. I really hope I get an interview. Okay? With this, you're completely in the driver's seat. So instead of seeing what's out there on Callisto or any other job website, and those companies saying, hey, we're looking for this individual, you're the individual saying, hey, I'm looking for this opportunity. And maybe you don't know what that opportunity is yet, or maybe you're really, really lasered in on it. It doesn't matter. You're contacting people that are in the industries doing what you want to do, or what you think you want to do, or what you think you might want to do. And you're talking to them, and you're learning from them. And so it's a snowball. Like once you reach out to 20 alums and you get 5 interviews, and then they recommend 1 or 2 people each, and then you reach out to those people. Like it's a snowball. You can feel the momentum building, okay? Whereas like if you drop a resume on Callisto, or you go to some info sessions and on-campus recruiting, and you're like hoping that somebody gets back to you, and then you go on some interviews, and you're still hoping that like you're creating those opportunities, okay? It's kind of the hidden job market too, if you've ever heard that term. Tapping into that a little bit. All right, any questions? These are also the links that I referred to. But do you guys have any questions or comments or thoughts?
So I have just a separate question.
Yeah.
This is not really related to Haas and Alumni or anything, but so after going to info sessions, you think of getting right, then you get a response back. Always, if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me or whatever. Should you follow up with can I talk to you for coffee chat or whatever? Even if you don't really have any more specific questions, or should you just reply, or should you just like let it go? Is that more? Should I just ask a career counselor for that?
You might want to. I mean, my personal thought is, those recruiters, they're professionals. It's their job. They have quotas to fill. Okay? And Berkeley is not the only school that they're visiting. They're going to top schools across the nation, and they have bosses that they have to answer to saying, how many positions have you filled? And I think the last thing that recruiter who's jet setting from campus to campus across campus or across the country is going to want is a student reaching out to them, taking 30 minutes or an hour of their time when they A, aren't really interested, B, aren't prepared, or C, are just going through the motions. If you have very specific questions and you have follow-up and you are really curious about something, by all means do it. But just to do it, I mean, if I was that person, I would be, personally, I would be annoyed. Like, okay, you're dancing with me, but like, there's no music playing here. Like, this isn't fun. Was there a question over here? Is that kind of,
Yeah.
I would still ask, you can still ask David, and they might have other things, but just, that's my very personal opinion on that. Yeah.
Do professionals normally get annoyed if you're like sending them email a couple times because of not receiving any response?
So is your question, do like professionals in general get annoyed if you're constantly emailing them?
Yeah, just for asking like information on interviews and like.
I mean, in terms of reaching out to our alums, I think it's totally fine to reach out to our alums. And the other thing that I didn't mention, and usually the student has a question about this, is follow-up. So like, if I didn't hear from them, when should I emailed them 3 days ago via @Cal. I haven't heard from them. When should I follow up? I think it's appropriate to follow up with that individual, with that alum, maybe 4 or 5 business days after your original message, and say, I contacted you earlier this week, or I contacted you last week. I would love to go on an informational interview in the coming week or 2. I hope to hear from you. I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly, but the other thing that I would add to that is If you contacted them if you contacted them through @Cal and you can't see their email address, so you don't know where it's going, and again, it's their preferred, it's whatever they told us, I would follow up with them, not in @Cal, but I'd follow up with them in LinkedIn in an in-mail message, because when you're not connected to them, it's like a tweet. There's a character limit, and so you can't, even though your outreach message is only going to be 5 to 6 sentences, LinkedIn, that's still too long for the message in LinkedIn. So I would follow up with them in LinkedIn and say, hi, I reached out to you via @Cal Alumni Directory a week ago. I'd love to go on an informational interview. I hope to hear from you. And that should fit in the in-mail. And that alum is either going to be like, oh my goodness, I saw your email. I've been swamped, or I've been on a business trip. Thank you for following up. I'd love to get together. Or they're going to say, oh, thanks for reaching out. I actually don't know what email you're referring to. Can you please clarify? And then you have a dialogue going on LinkedIn, and so you can write back and forth. It's like an email exchange. Say, oh, I actually found you in the @Cal Alumni Directory. It's whatever. I contacted you on the email that you have given the university. But I would, and then you can just basically transition and make your ask there. So that's a way to open up a dialogue in LinkedIn when you're not actually connected with the person. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? All right, so it's a lot of information. Like I said, contact me if you want to review your outreach message, or if you have any questions, or, oh, Alessandra, I'm getting ready for my first meeting and I would just like to clarify a couple things with you. I am happy to do a 10, 15 minute, 20 minute follow-up phone call with you to cover like your specific situation, that I'm totally available to. Also, please, if you have any friends that are interested in learning this stuff, that you help me and spread the word that this is all available to them. And then a shameless plug. So tomorrow is the dean's reception in the Wells Fargo room at 3. So hopefully you are able to come to that. And I believe the dean's going to be in the hot seat, and you guys can ask him any questions you want. That's what I've heard. And I also have the alumni benefits brochure over here and that LinkedIn checklist for you. So thank you guys so much, and best of luck with your self-directed internship and career search. And if you do hear back from alums and you were able to have a great connection, please drop me a line and let me know. We love, love, love hearing about this, especially if it really leads to something. We love highlighting it in our blogs. That is the power of the network, in action. And so we love hearing about it in action. So let me know if you have a great experience with this process. And best of luck. Thank you, you guys.